Welcome everyone to another Legacy of the Valiant card discussion video. Today we'll be talking about some other extra deck monsters that are in the set. So first off we have our Fairy King Inganar.
And he's Earth Plant, rank 6. Not the best attack stat, only 2200, but it does have 3000 defense, which is really nice. It does take 3 level 6 monsters, but it has a very powerful effect in that once per turn you can detach 2 materials from it and return every other card on the field to the hand. And your opponent can't activate cards or effects in response to it.
Yeah, so they aren't going to be able to negate this with an effect veiler? Well, I guess they could.
They have to preempt it with things like that.
They have to.
In which case you won't have detached the materials, which is the nice thing, is that they can't negate you after you've detached.
Yeah. Well, they are still going to be able to Fiendish Chain you or break their skill, as long as they know what this card does, which, I mean, they'll probably ask to read the card. But I guess the more difficult thing about this card is actually getting it out, since it does require 3 level 6 monsters.
Though that is pretty easy. If you use archetypes like the Hieratics or the Hazy Flames, that summons that really easily.
Yeah, that is true. So if you use archetypes that specifically go into this card, what is there also? Xyz Shift? Does that rank up or make a 5 into a 6?
No, I think you're thinking of Rank Up Magic Astral Force, which is what I was going to talk about, in which you can change a monster with the same, or an Xyz monster with the same rank and type to one, or not attribute and type, to 2 ranks higher. So you can use that on Fairy King Alverditch, which only takes 2 level 4 Earth monsters, which is incredibly easy to do.
Yeah, that is very easy.
Or CXC's Battleship Cherry Blossom, which is a little more difficult because it takes 4 level 4 monsters, or you can rank up. What is it? Battle Cruiser Dianthus.
Yeah, I think that.
Which takes 3 level 3s.
So
Fairy King Alverditch is a much easier way to Astro Force into this card.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be significantly easier.
Assuming you left at least 1 material on Alverditch, you'll have the perfect amount of materials for this card's effect. So.
Yeah, 2 level 4 Earth monsters is not that hard in a plant-based deck.
But other than that, it's a pretty solid defense. Plus, since it is rank 6, after you've used the effect, you can go into Gaia Dragon.
That is true, and that'll get you up to the 26. But you're gonna get rid of all the cards on the field anyway, more likely than not. So, I mean, you could keep this on the field in hopes of using its effect again through additional materials or a freeze it
overlay regen.
Yeah, or a freeze it on play maybe. But otherwise, yeah, going into Gaia Dragon is definitely a good play with this card.
Just remember that it does say return all other cards on the field to the hand, so that does include yours. So if you're going for something like Freezedon, it's going to return your Freezedon as well.
But that definitely can be used to your advantage with continuous traps or something like that, with like Fiendish Chain that was left on the field through an Xyz or Synchro play by your opponent, or maybe a Call of the Haunted.
Alright, the next card is one that's been highly talked about, Evil Swarm Exciton Knight. It is a light Fiend Xyz, so it's rank 4. Same stats as Steel Swarm Roach, which this card is kind of like the evolution of in terms of the dual terminal story. So it's got the 1900 attack and 0 defense. Nice and generic, 2 level 4 monsters in its effect. Once per chain, during your main phase or your opponent's battle phase, if your opponent has more total cards in their hand and their side of the field than you do, you can detach the material and destroy all other cards on the field, but your opponent takes no further damage this turn.
And that is a quick effect. So you're going to be able to immediately activate this effect upon its summon.
Assuming you meet the requirements.
Assuming you meet the requirements, of course, that you have less total cards combined on your field and in your hand than your opponent. Something to look out for is your opponent very well could start using some of their cards on their field in order to lessen the amount of cards on their field to make this card's effect unusable. But basically, you can destroy your opponent's whole field, but you might end up destroying some of your cards, so you're definitely going to want to be careful and not just willy-nilly summon this card and destroy all your like protective traps or something like that.
And also, you definitely want to make sure that you already have less cards on the field in your hand than your opponent when you summon it. So just in case they have something like Bottomless or something like that, you can immediately activate your effect, since it is a quick effect. So you more likely than not want to already meet the requirements upon the summon of the card.
And you're probably gonna want to be more than one card less than your opponent, if possible.
Just in case.
So
yeah.
if they do get off a card or two, then you'll still be okay. Because if you do have the same amount of cards, then this effect does not work. But it's very easy to summon, like we said, 2 level 4 monsters, easy to summon in most decks, since level 4 is the most common monster level.
The nice thing is there is another option. If you have this in your graveyard and you have an Excesorborn ready to go, if you activate Excesorborn during your opponent's battle phase, you can instantly just blow up their field if you have the requirements set up during your opponent's battle phase.
Yeah, that's a very powerful play. Hadn't even thought of that, but dang, yeah, that'd be pretty good. That's why Xyz Reborn, definitely a good choice. I mean, it is a trap card, so you're not gonna be able to activate it on your turn right away, but that play is pretty good.
Alright, and our next card is Downward Magician, which is a dark spellcaster, rank 4. It's got a pretty good 2100 defense, or 2100 attack, and only 200 defense. Normally requires 2 level 4 spellcasters, but that's the less common summon of it. Since its effect is during your main phase 2, you can also Xyz summon this card using a rank 3 or lower Xyz monster you control as the material. And obviously Xyz materials attached to that monster also become materials on this card. And this card gains 200 attack for each Xyz material attached to it, and it inflicts piercing damage, and then it loses a material if it attacks or was attacked.
Yeah, so any of your rank 3 or lower monsters, I know rank 3s are mildly common, rank 2s are less common. I mean, you have potential, let's see, what are some common rank 3s that are still played? You got,
Leviathan Dragon still so.
Yeah, maybe Zen mains, but I don't know why you'd want to rank up from a Zen mains. That seems kind of silly.
The nice thing is, since it's 3 or lower, you can use it on, say you have a Mirror the Starbearer or a Galaxy Queen that's out of materials. Those monsters are pretty much dead in the water once they're out of materials. So instead of just leaving them out there to die, you can change them into Downward Magician, and then you've got at least a decent monster out.
Yeah, that's also pretty good with Digusto Phoenix, since once you use both of its materials, it's just kind of a 1500 level 2 monster, or rank 2 monster, and can't really do a whole lot with 1500 attack, so bringing a 2300 Downward Magician out is not too shabby. Plus, it can inflict piercing damage once, it always inflicts piercing damage, but
it just lowers its attack with every attack until you're out of materials.
Yeah, so you'd go down to 2100 after one attack. I know one common thing I do with it is in Raccoon decks, bringing out number 64, once if I happen to only have one out, and I use both of its materials, maybe I don't have any beasts out, and I want to go ahead and get more attack, I go ahead and go into a Downward Magician. It's really versatile. It can use any 1 through 3 rank Xyz monster. Can be used for a lot of things.
The nice thing is, since it's a very easily summonable due to that second effect, and it's a dark monster with at least 2000 attack, you can use it with 2 legal viruses or Deck Devastation and maybe Eradicator. If you have 2 materials, you can use it on that. So.
Yeah, it's not too hard to get 2 materials. Probably an easy way to summon this actually is through Summoner Monk. You can use Summoner Monk and ditch a spell card, get another spellcaster monster, and go into this. Have 2500, and then you can use all the viruses you want, although I'm not very appreciative of that.
And then, obviously, since it is a monster that gets more attack due to its, through how many materials it has, giving it more materials is always a good idea. So things like Overlay Regen, it'll just keep giving this card attack.
Yeah.
As well as using, like, for example, if you used a Galaxy Queen that had all of its materials for this card, you're going to have you're gonna have 3 materials on, or 4 materials when you summon this card, assuming Galaxy Queen hadn't used its effect.
Yeah.
And you'd have 2,900 attack going into this card, which is very powerful with something that has piercing.
I'm actually surprised we didn't talk about Slack Magician at all, because Slack Magician kind of grew up made this card.
This is the quote-unquote evolution of this card.
Yeah, you go into your Slack Magician with 2 level 1s, maybe a Battle Fader or Treeborn Frog combination. Go into a Slack Magician, it's protected from effects a bit, and then go into your Doubter Magician on main phase 2.
Alright, and then we're going to move on to our last card, which is the only Synchro monster in Legacy of the Valiant, Leo, the Keeper of the Sacred Tree. It is an Earth Beast Synchro. It's level 10 with 3,100 attack and 1,900 defense. Generic, only requiring 1 tuner and 1 or more non-tuner monsters. And its effect is very nice. This face-up card on the field cannot be targeted by your opponent's card effects, except during your main phase 2.
So you can very easily get around this card being targeted by effects. First of all, when it's summoned, they can't target it with effects, so it's not going to be able to be targeted by like Bottomless or Compulse. And
assuming you're not in the main phase 2.
Yeah, I mean, if you summon this in main phase 1, which you probably should, because I don't know why you'd summon this in main phase 2. Seems silly considering its effect.
It's pretty easy to summon. Getting a tuner and non-tuner out at total 10 just generically is actually pretty easy, especially with like a easily summonable level 6 like Gilligan Lancer. Very easily get this 10 out, and there you go. You've got a very powerful monster. That 3,100 attack is just enough to get over a lot of powerful monsters. So
yeah, I guess Debris Dragon wouldn't work because you need dragons. But what is there, like Rose Warrior? Is that a level 4 tuner?
Rose the Warrior of Revenge.
Yes. So that can be used with anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you could use that and a level 6, maybe. What's that card? It's Malicious.
Mm-hmm.
So you banish a Malicious from your grave, special summon another Malicious from your deck, bring out Rose, and synchro up to Leo, the Keeper of the Sacred Tree.
Also gives a good target to things like Malefics, who previously they could summon Malefic Paradox Dragon with Malefic Parallel Gear's effect, but you can also bring out this card and also Drescension, so that's given this a few more options. Plus this is a really powerful card with pretty much no drawback, considering the main phase 2 is an optional phase.
Yeah.
So you never have to enter it.
Yeah, I guess your best bet would be to use cards that don't target, or I mean, I guess you could get over it. Let's see. In battle. Yeah, attacking over it is significantly more difficult. I mean, the raccoons, man, number 64, I'm going to make a token, I'll just bash into it. I don't know, it's hard to get over by battle because 3,100 is pretty high.
It's just a tier above most of the strongest monsters, so.
Yeah, I guess your best bet would be raising your own monster's attack, since you are likely not able to lower this card's attack.
Or obviously use non-targeting cards like Dark Hole or Mirror Force, but
I assume your opponent is somewhat competent and is able to look out for Mirror Forces.
And obviously, if you wanna go the full route of basing off the dual terminal archetypes, you can always use Terminal World, which stops the main phase 2 entirely.
Yes, Leo, he's almost invincible.
And both of those being references to the fact that the dual terminal machines didn't have the ability to have a main phase 2. So
gotta have Terminal World. Every deck. But I guess that's kind of it for our other extra deck monsters. We hope to see you back for the rest of Legacy of the Valiant.
See you guys later.